Thank you for tuning in to watch our Invest Houston Leadership Summit. You're about to watch panel number 2, Laying the Groundwork: How Technology is Reshaping Sustainability to Fuel Houston's Next Chapter. Be sure to like and follow for more CEO insights from CAA. Enjoy.
Mayor Whitmire talks about the challenges we face here in Houston. We need to collaborate and create the solutions of our future. For those in this room, we're in this together. Just a few of the remarks that he made here today. With that, let's get started on our panel discussion. By a show of hands, who has done something to contribute to sustainability in the past week? No, that's terrible. Okay, let me ask a different question. So I want to see some engagement here. Who works in a heavily tech or innovation-based field? It's a little bit better. Okay. Balancing innovation and sustainability is challenging for regions across the country, and Houston leaders keep that top of mind as they look at future projects and planning. In this panel, laying the groundwork, in this panel, laying the groundwork, how technology is reshaping sustainability to fuel Houston's next chapter. Our panelists here today will discuss how to support responsible development while pushing the region into a tech-advancing future. Economic competitiveness and sustainability can sometimes appear at odds. How are Houston's industries balancing near-term business imperatives with long-term environmental goals? And what technologies are helping close that gap?
Yeah, I guess I'll kick this off. I'm Ryan Ezel, the CEO at Flowtech Industries. At Flowtech, we are a technology-driven organization that are focused on the convergence of real-time data and chemical solutions that are centered around the convergence of our approach of chemistry as that common value creation platform. And I was sitting in the crowd today, and I was looking around, and I was thinking to myself, what you'd asked earlier, like how many people here work in energy and or tech-related industries, and also what Mayor Whitmore had talked about is that I'm originally from South Mississippi. I moved to Texas almost 20 years ago and spent the majority of my career international business for a long time, pretty much every continent, working in the energy and infrastructure sector. But I've always called Houston home. And when you think about that, you think about what Texas is. It's the largest state in the lower 48. It has the second largest in terms of total population. You look at the growth and innovation since 1998, its GDP has increased over 140%, putting it in the top 2 in the nation. And then you start thinking about Houston. It's the epicenter of energy and infrastructure. There are 52 companies in the Fortune 500. You look at resources that we have in the state, largest petroleum infrastructure. We have the largest wind farm battery in the U.S. We have in the top 5 solar output. And we have this amazing emerging hydrogen component here. And what that tells me is that we have a massive amount of energy density in the state of Texas. And when you think about energy as a whole, that provides the key pathway. It's a change agent. It's a change agent to bettering human lives. It's a change agent for driving innovation and technology because these things require sufficient energy. And so when you look at, I look at innovations that are coming into play here, what we're starting to see is massive amounts of data. We have more data at our fingertips than we've ever had. And so it's a responsibility for us as we start looking at aspiration versus reality. That's where you look at competitive economics and sustainability. They come head to head. And I don't call it necessarily a rub or a friction, but it's more of the challenge of, as we sit in these roles of driving performance for the future, for the economics of the organizations and for the country. It's our job to drive a sustainable future. And so when we look at that, we look at and here at Flowtech, I'll give you some examples of driving, AI functions to take waste out of energy and infrastructure operations. We look at reducing emissions by our real-time monitoring of gases and pipelines, field operations. You look at the emergence of data centers. We're now helping convert stranded gas in the areas out in West Texas to power these data centers, which are going to further complement what we're going to do here on the data and computational services. So there's just that constant push. So I would definitely say it's our job to push sustainability forward and look for better ways to take waste out by driving new measurements, new advancements in material sciences, new chemistries that bring efficiency to the forefront and really help empower and remain that beacon on the world stage of, empowering human life going forward.
Thank you so much. Jeff, Parker, do you all have anything you'd like to add?
Sure, I'll go next again. I'm Jeff Chalice. I'm the Vice President and Business Unit Lead for George General Contractors Houston office. We are a GC, commercial general contractor based out of San Antonio with offices in Austin and Dallas as well. Yeah, there's a huge challenge on how do you thrive as a competitive business, but maintain a social and economic sustainability initiative. So for us, it's been honestly with our customers creating a partnership type relationship and having a commitment to continuous improvement and eliminating waste as part of our culture, and then leaning into innovation and technology to drive that. We believe that both innovation and technology is the future of how you become more socially and environmentally sustainability on projects. George created a construction technology team that is literally dedicated to doing nothing but finding the latest and greatest technologies out there and testing them on our projects. We're working with 3D modeling. We're working with virtual design, AI technologies, drone technologies. We're working with robotics. This team was recently awarded a Innovation of the Year award for using a robotic crawler to get into confined space with a 360 camera to do inspections, and eliminating the need of sending someone down there to do that inspection. So you're reducing the safety risk that we used to have to go through, and there's more opportunities for that to get creative and maintain those initiatives. Additionally, we just tested at Conroe ISD. We're building a new high school out there, and we tested robotics on doing layout for wall systems and for utilities to help improve our quality control program out there. So, the unfortunate part is, sure, it costs money, right, to put these in the projects, which there's always initiative to pull the cost of a project down. But we're seeing that with our customers, if it brings value to the job, they're willing to pay more for these services in their projects, knowing that it's going to save them opportunities with eliminating waste. It's going to save them cost on the back end of the job. So we're very proactive in the construction industry with finding these opportunities and taking that partnership approach and being innovation forward thinking. We've seen tremendous growth in Houston over the past 5 years with that approach.
Well, two tough acts to follow, but first, thanks so much, Susanna and CAA, for having us here. I'm Parker Meeks. I'm the CEO of Utility Global. And Utility, we are a technology play that's trying to do exactly what these two gentlemen just described. How do we fit in to help drive sustainable solutions for customers in refining chemicals, steel, and biogas without changing the cost of that product? I spent the first 15 years of my career in traditional oil, gas, and chemicals and decided to shift over to the transition side with hydrogen and carbon capture as more of the focus. And the 4 years leading up to 2024 was all about, let's build new assets, build new plants, create an entirely new value chains of hydrogen from scratch and have it somehow not cost too much. And that doesn't happen, right? So what we do at Utility, we have a technology that basically takes off gases, takes waste gases from refineries, chemical plants, biogas streams, and steel plants, and converts that off gas into valuable hydrogen and a high concentration CO2 stream. So refineries and chemical plants, for instance, can get to a CO2 capture strategy that doesn't change the cost of that product. By giving them back low-cost hydrogen on site, they can use as fuel and giving them that high concentration CO2 stream, which in many cases is hard to get to. We have projects globally. We're focused now on the Gulf Coast and right here in my hometown of Houston, trying to drive into the pet chem and refinery base here. But the critical question that people ask once they vet the technology is, what's the cost, right? What's the cost of my end product? And we're fortunate that our process can get to a cost of steel, a cost of refined products that doesn't change while giving them a path to make carbon lower.
Well, it's really interesting to get to hear from each of you in regards to each of what you deliver in your services, right? For here in Houston and abroad. I know Seyfarth, which is a law firm, we have over 900 attorneys internationally, have been in this town 30 years. We focus on innovation and sustainability. We partner with our clients in order to provide them the services so that they can meet these goals that you're talking about here today. Data and digital tools are transforming sustainability strategies. How are technologies such as AI, EOT, and advanced analytics helping organizations reduce emissions, manage resources, and make smarter infrastructure decisions?
Yeah, so when I look at this, I go back to the initial comments around data. We've been building data lakes for years. Where we're starting to see a lot of the AI advancements come in is our ability to either one, take advanced machine learning and traditional linear regression models, or do more generative things to do predictive analytics to facilitate velocity at how we make decisions and remove waste from systems. And this is being extremely powerful. It also helps our industry on the backside is that this requires power and energy. So subsequently, there's a unique symbiosis from these two things of how they happen. To give you some exact examples of how this works is, most of us were in some type of vehicle mode of transportation to get here that was probably provided by some type of energy, whether it be an electric or gas or fuel, et cetera. But most of these things move through some type of pipeline or transmission point. But if we take the flow of hydrocarbons in pipelines, traditionally there are different types that flow through, and they intermingle as you move from jet to diesel to refined fuels. And as they go to each one of these refineries, there are so many seconds that these fluids are in contact with one another. We call that transmix. And traditionally, it would take 10 to 12 seconds of flow to clean one out and start a new one, because we want to make sure we had an exact cutoff. And you have to take that intermingled fluid, retreat, and that takes energy and is excessive waste. Some of the advanced analytics that we have at Flowtech is we actually can do near-infrared measurements every 1/8 of a second and detect the changes in fuel quality. And we can cut that transmix time down from 12 seconds down to, say, 4 seconds. And for each second, this saves over $50,000 of operational costs, not counting the additional energy required to do this reproduction. Another aspect is all of us are aware of the growing electrification demands here in the United States. We're going to see more electricity need growth in the next 5 years than we've seen in the last 50 put together. A lot of this is driven by the requirements of AI data centers and the mass electrification, also the reshoring of a lot of industrial processes that we have. And when you look at that, that means that there's going to be remote island support, and that's where we come in to help play, is that we're able to take and define fuel sources that come from associated gas or all these pipelines that's been stranded that traditionally were just flared off, which is not necessarily always good for the environment either. And so what we are is helping treat and condition and turn this into a usable fuel that allows reliable power generation for data centers, grid support, emergency supplies, and for components. This is extremely important because even when you look at just to maintain our current supply and demand components on energy, probably 50% of the transmission lines in the United States are at their end of life. So you can imagine when there's a storm comes in, we talk about ERCOT, and we talk about these strains that are on the system. That's where these reusable power sources that we talk about come really into play. The third one that I'll mention quickly is around biomass and biogas. You see a lot of landfills and they generate gas. Our systems help predict, treat, and turn these systems into usable fuel that can work in reciprocating engines or turbines, again, generate electricity, creating demand and reducing some of the waste or the flared off gas that they have there. And then last one, all this plays in line with how we look at rapid treatment and recycling of water. similar data and chemical measurements, do real-time adjustments to treatments for beneficial reuse agriculture, what we put back into municipal systems and other applications around industrial parts of the world. And so all of these advancements and decision makings are all driven by the ability to take near-time data and make quick decisions by AI generative models and predictive analytics. And so it's having a tremendous impact on the industry.
Actually, even Seyfarth, our law firm, has a data analytics group within it. In one of the examples that we have for Seyfarth is a science fair to create innovation in delivery of our legal services. Jeff, for you, a question. Houston's rapid growth poses both opportunities and pressures. How can general contractors balance the demand for new developments with the responsibility to preserve environmental integrity and community authenticity?
So I had the pleasure. By the way, did you say $50,000 in savings per second? Goodness, you lost me after that. I just was big number, right? So, in preparation of this question, I got to spend some time with a couple partners in some commercial real estate firms here regionally, and I asked them the same thing, and we were completely aligned. The answer is you have to be committed to bringing value to communities, right? But it's hard. How do you do that? How do you balance cost and value? The reality is, so a major part of our business here in Houston is mixed use and commercial retail-based projects. Gone are the days where you build a strip center that's just painted boxes and real boring, right? People want experience. If they're going to spend money in the community, they want to do it in a way that brings experience. We've got a team of architects right here, and I promise you guys, I've heard the term placemaking more time in the last 2 years than I have over 20 years, right? So, but it's tough. So we've done some great projects in communities like Bridgeland, Jordan Ranch, Fulshear, Katy, all over the Houston suburbs, and people want the same amenities that you can get from a city center, but on a smaller scale in their communities, and it fits the identity of their communities. So how do you do that? It takes us working with developers and architects up front, using technology, using cost data analytics that we may have to build confidence when we're looking at a napkin sketch or a conceptual design, to give them a number, so they can move forward with their investment, but be accurate, right, with our data. In the urban areas, we've seen a need for redeveloping old developments that are struggling with vacancy, that are there's these buildings that have historical significance to the region that are just being underutilized, right? And so we've been awarded multiple mall redevelopment projects where we're going to be completely carving these old big boxes up and turning them into village centers, right? Again, how do you do that? How do you balance the cost there and the commitment to bringing these village centers? And it takes innovation, it takes technology, it takes a lot of data analytics that we see in construction. And there's major advancements there, allowing us to work with teams and bring that cost confidence, day one all the way through the end of the project. So it's that's the approach is be committed to bringing value, right? It's not just about a number, but where do we show up, bringing value to the entire project from day one in conceptual design all the way through maintenance.
For you, Ryan, as global markets move toward net zero goals, what competitive advantages do Houston's concentration of technical expertise and industrial infrastructure give to companies innovating in cleaner chemicals and smarter data?
That's a lot to unpack in a couple seconds, so I won't try to take up all the rest of the time here. But I'm going to ask kind of another survey question here. Who's heard the term by our Energy Secretary, the lucky 1 billion? Who's heard that? Anybody? So what I talk about this on a global scale of people that work in energy and technology is to say that right now on Earth there's a little over 8 billion people in total population. 1 billion of those 8 have what I would consider to be accessible or readily access to abundant energy, which leads in technology, innovation, and high quality of life. That means there's 7 billion people on this planet who don't have that access. And that impacts industrial applications, that impacts education, that impacts quality of life, that impacts all those things. And so when you think about what Houston has in this, I use the term again, epicenter of energy, it's our role on a global scale. You know, we work on international business. I spent the majority of my career in international scope, is how do we not only translate in a cooperative nature to bring these technologies and innovations to other areas of the globe, but how do we facilitate the learning curve to reduce waste that we may have experienced in the previous years? And so there's a lot of things that we do on our technology platforms, teach-ins, visits, university sponsorships all around the globe to help drive innovation and adoption. But more importantly is how do we, bridge that gap to create reliable energy for everyone on a global scale? And so that's where we focus the majority of our technology, our time, and our efforts as an overall mission statement, is reducing the environmental impact on air, land, water, and people that's created by chemistry and energy. And so that's the part to me that's extremely important, and that's the part for us is a goal that I think we've got a long way to go to get there. But the technologies we've talked about today around AI, digital twinning, the advanced modeling, taking waste out, improved supply chain, improved execution in the field, and most importantly, high levels of safety by detection mechanisms and things that we have operating on the global scale are going to drive improvements, I think, around the world. And, in reality, you kind of see these things playing out today as there's kind of being an energy balance, a rebalance taking place between OECD countries, OPEC countries, people that are putting their sustainability goals into, a true net zero component, and realizing that, hey, we can get there sometimes, but you may have, power outage. You have these things. How do we bridge that gap and make it more economical and better for people overall from a day-to-day living aspect? Because it's really easy for me to get on stage and talk about that, but how does that play out in real time? And so that's where a lot of the focus that we have on our technologies and putting that play in and lubricating that process as much as possible.
Parker, for you, Houston's innovation ecosystem is growing rapidly, from carbon capture startups to digital energy platforms. How is your organization engaging with this ecosystem to stay competitive and drive next generation solutions?
Yeah, look, when you're trying to decarbonize existing assets like we're focused on, which we think is the right place to start, let's take what we have, let's optimize it, let's reduce emissions in existing assets without having to build greenfield plants. You've got an asset that's living and breathing. It's been optimized over decades in many cases. Take refineries, chemical plants, what Ryan's been speaking to about optimizing gas flows, efficiencies. There's great technology. I mentioned in my opening, we take, off gases, waste gases. There's no waste gases in a refinery or a chem plant, right? So first you have to understand, what is in that asset, what's the technology, how does it operate, how does it function, which takes understanding and integrating and collaborating with both the asset owner, big global oil and gas companies, big global refiners, and all the technology companies that are in that plant. When you're trying to take existing gases and do stuff with it, it's fine to simulate it in a lab, which we do, and it works great. And then you get to an asset and gas stops showing up without notice, right? Or the composition changes. So there's a lot of work we have to do with first existing technologies that are already in that plant to understand what's all the variability we have to deal with, that the asset can't react to us, we have to react to the asset. And then to make our solution happen, we take off gases, we give them back hydrogen to use in the plant and give them back a high concentration CO2 stream that they have to then take to capture in sequestration or take to capture in something else. So we have to collaborate with carbon capture solutions. We have to collaborate with potential pipeline solutions that are coming to market. EPCs are critical to us. And then finally, how we maintain and optimize operations of our asset in this network of assets around us comes down to things like software, AI, and how do we continuously improve. I mean, we think our technology just 3 or 4 years from now can be 50% lower CapEx and 40% lower OpEx by mainly software and how we operate the facility and change how we do heat management, heat balance, and gas flow. So in short, Similar to Ryan, we're deploying technology right now in steel plants and refineries in Japan, Korea, Brazil, and Europe, which is where there's more structural support for things like what we do. We think the Gulf Coast is a great environment for us to dive into, and we're really excited about that. We're bringing all that ecosystem and many global partners who also operate here, but we also look forward to engaging with local constituents in the community because it takes a real fabric of companies across the ecosystem to make these things work.
This is for all of you. Houston has long been synonymous with energy innovations. Moving forward, how is technology redefining what sustainability means for this city's future? And how are leaders ensuring that Houston remains at the forefront of the global energy transition? Jeff or Parker, why don't you begin?
I'll begin by calling out one specific part of the Houston ecosystem that I've been really proud to see bring the city together, and that's Port Houston. So when I was at my prior company, Hyzon, doing fuel cell trucks, fuel cell trucks are not very popular for lots of good reasons. They're expensive, the infrastructure is hard, and Port Houston has continuously engaged in every way they can, in my view, to promote pathways for Houston to be the epicenter of sustainability in a way that actually makes sense. They're going after grant funding opportunities. They're bringing together the community, right? Because to do any of these solutions, it's not just one company, even one sector, right? To do a thing like electric vehicles or fuel cell trucks, you need truck manufacturers, fuel cell manufacturers, you need hydrogen production developers, you need big mature companies with big balance sheets to make this stuff work. And typically a government body or a governmental body needs to be the epicenter of pulling these groups together. So I just really applaud what Port Houston's done, and I know there's many other parts of the city who are trying to do the same thing. I think the more that we can have our institutions in Houston pull the various value chains together, the better chance of success we have.
I was originally going to pass on this question because I'm not in the energy sector, but I agree. I mean, the Port of Houston drives everything economically here, right? It gives us the opportunity to have all of these industries and corporations that have a thriving economy. But listening to the K through 12 panel earlier, I'm going to play off that. So each one of them talked about the development of CTE and STEM programs in their districts. To answer that question, I think you have to invest in the up-and-coming generations, right? So how do we support that? In the construction industry, it's very similar. I mean, we've had CTE programs come tour our job sites recently and then provide them with opportunities to meet with actual hiring managers with our trade partners that we're working with and show them a pathway, into, if they don't want to go to college or choose a path, if they want to choose a career in construction, show them that pathway, coming out of a CTE program. So while I'm not in the energy sector, I do think that, it's just a commitment to investing in the upcoming generations.
Yeah, and I guess these guys spoke very eloquently around this. What I would say is I don't know that there's ever been a more exciting time to be in the energy and infrastructure space. I've been going through these things through a few ups and downs of what we traditionally refer to as oil and gas, and that was like the bad thing to talk about. But unfortunately, when you really face down in reality, oil and gas has paved the way for a lot of innovation around the world. And as we make this transition, the majority of the major E&P operators, the major oilfield service companies, are truly embracing the transition to energy infrastructure. There are massive investments into the universities, grade schools, the community, collaborations, partnerships, different things that will evolve our understanding to, we always talk about this energy transition. What I look at this is going to be, for the near term, for the majority of us in this room, it's going to be more like an accordion. There's going to be certain times when we require, traditional fossil fuels and hydrocarbons. There'll be time when you use wind, we'll use solar. You're going to start to see, and it's exciting on the cusp of this, and it's particularly in the investment community and technology forums, is a lot of these hyperscalers that have unlimited amounts of funds are moving into this interconnection to figure out where we're going to get energy to power these next level innovations in data centers. Because it's unreal the numbers I see from what they can do versus the energy that they consume while they're doing it. And so you're going to see significant advancements, particularly not only in just what we do to clean up, to be greener and more efficient with use of natural gas, but also what we're going to do in nuclear power, extreme amounts of energy density there, and hydrogen. If we can get some advancements in material science around hydrogen, it'll be phenomenal. And so, pay attention. I tell you, look up and see. You're going to see this play out in massive amount of jobs for our children, our future grandchildren, and all those things that play in this space. And it is the future. Energy and infrastructure will drive technology. It's the main change agent to see these things take place. And so it's an exciting part to be here in Houston, because Houston has always been dedicated to the support of that. And we have a phenomenal school systems here. You heard this previous panel applaud out to them for the support they do every day. And then also with our colleges and universities, collaborative engineering programs. And now you're starting to see the big tech companies come in and work with energy companies at a hyperscale level. It's a really exciting time to be in Texas.
It is an exciting time. Having just stepped into the role of managing partner for the Houston office of Seyfarth, I am so excited for this next chapter of Houston, and we're up for the challenge. Thank you, each of you, Parker, Jeff, and Ryan, for your insights into what the future holds for Houston.